Live from the world headquarters of Rt America in Washington, D.C., this is the news with Rick Sanchez with special host Michele Greenstein.
Good evening, I'm Michele Greenstein filling in for Rick Sanchez. As we know, the new Wuhan coronavirus has reached at least 14 countries and infected close to 3,000 people. Today, Chinese officials announced that 25 additional deaths exist, raising the death toll from this infection to 106. And researchers in Hong Kong say that the actual number of those affected could be more than 30 times higher than the official tally. Now, the Center for Disease Control and Prevention says it has confirmed 5 cases of the virus in the U.S. so far, and the State Department is recommending that Americans avoid travel to China when at all possible. Now, imagine that there's an entity that just gave $10 million to containing this outbreak. Sounds great, right? $5 million to China and $5 million to the continent of Africa. Sounds innocent enough. But imagine that the head of this organization has actually been warning that the next pandemic disease is coming and that it will be a global killer. And that this man, while he was the wealthiest man on Earth, issued a call for a global militarized authority capable of responding to an outbreak just like this one, and that it should work with NATO to do so. Imagine he said, quote, "The world needs to prepare for pandemics in the same serious way it prepares for war." Now, imagine that in 2010, this same entity funded a trial of a malaria vaccine and administered the treatment to thousands of infants in Africa, and that the trial resulted in 151 deaths and caused serious adverse effects like paralysis and seizures in over 1,000 children. What if that entity funded a vaccine campaign in Chad as well, where unconfirmed reports allege that 50 children who were forcibly vaccinated for meningitis were paralyzed? And what if, in India, a large-scale study funded by this entity caused adolescent girls to die after being given injections of the human papilloma virus vaccine? Everything I've said so far is true about the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. And that wealthy man in question, of course, that's Bill Gates. Maybe this is something to consider when you're reading headlines about how the Gates Foundation is pledging money to fight the coronavirus. And not only is it pledging money in China and in Africa to contain the virus, it's also involved in finding a cure. It's funding an effort by a company called Moderna to develop a coronavirus vaccine. And Moderna, well, it's one of those biotech stocks that have been soaring since this outbreak. We'll be staying on top of this story for you, so stay tuned. This is the news with Rick Sanchez, where we believe it's time to do news again.